Now, after the deadly storms, there are some really pushing to go green. Some environmentalists saying this week's killer twisters prove that global warming is here, it's deadly, and Americans need to spend more money going green. That is our next guest, Seeing Red. Marc Morano is with ClimateDepot.com. What do you think, Mark, of these people that, and I've seen some written about this, that you got to blame this all on climate change?
Well, this is following them blaming the tsunami on climate change, the record cold on climate change, the blizzards and record snow on climate change. This is them blaming record ice in Antarctica on climate change. This is them blaming any weather event on climate change. It's the latest incarnation. The problem is this time it's even more absurd than previously. You know, looking at large tornadoes, there's no end in tornadoes going back to 40, 60 years of the data in terms of the big storms. We are finding smaller storms, and that's because we have better detection, better radar and satellites to find these tornadoes and better people reporting them, more reports of them.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely no trend, and the human loss of life has actually, when you consider population increase, has dropped significantly in the last 40, 50, 60 years. So any way you cut it, tornadoes are not a crisis. For them now to use this is yet another example of climate astrology. They're trying to peddle the idea that our SUVs are causing severe tornadoes and our light bulbs and our industry and our way of life. It's no better than in 1450 when Aztec priests encouraged people sacrifice to the gods to end a drought. We've actually are going back to a primitive culture where we actually think that we can affect the weather to this level, like a tornado is caused by our cars.
Well, you make a couple of interesting points there, and one of them is that we just don't have, and I heard some of the meteorologists talk about this the last couple of days, we just don't have the data to go back hundreds of years and look at what the patterns may have been, 500 years ago. Who knows? Our data doesn't go back long enough to draw any conclusions that way, so it makes it difficult to know whether it is climate change or at the same time whether it's not. I mean, can you rule it out, in other words?
Yeah, well, right now, NOAA's scientists are already on record, the government scientists, saying it is not linked to any kind of climate change or warming. In fact, a man named Thomas Mote from University of Georgia just 2 years ago had a study out saying, if anything, warming will mean less tornadoes. So they can't get their story straight.
Yeah.
And this is where we go back to the astrology. Whether it's too many tornadoes, it's global warming. Whether the ice melts in the Arctic or the ice increases, it's all consistent with what they predict, because their predictions are literally contradictory and all over the place. More tornadoes, less tornadoes.
Yeah.
Take your pick. Whatever happens, it's sure to fit their pattern.
I think just to, and you started to make this point at the beginning, just to look at all the different weather events and how extreme the weather seems to be, even if just looking at it without analyzing data, you could see where people start to jump to conclusions, and maybe you're saying those conclusions are just not based on fact.
Yeah, studies, the American Meteorological Society looked at losses from natural disasters, and they're either finding trends or it's actually been reduced over the years. It's just not there. Everyone wants to look at the current age and say, oh, this is exceptional, this has never happened before. Right now, we're about to hit a period in hurricanes, which, remember, when Katrina hit in 2005, that was the big one. Global warming, we caused this. This is our fingerprint. Well, we're about to hit the longest period since the Civil War that we've had no landfalling hurricanes hit the United States. And now those same scientists that Al Gore cited on hurricanes are saying maybe global warming, if we had it, would actually reduce the number of hurricanes, or actually reduce their intensity and all kinds of things. So it's all contradictory when you look at it. But the main point here is they don't have the science. We had a Nobel Prize-winning economist named Thomas Schelling, who 2 years ago said he wished for horrid things like a lot of tornadoes in order to convince people of man-made global warming. So in many ways, this is just purely a propaganda tool of the environmentalists and the promoters of global warming. It's shameful.
Thank you, Mark. Good to see you. We're going to talk about hurricanes coming up, and the predictions are not good at all, but also